Batman is a name that needs no introduction. He is a staple of pop culture and by far one of the most iconic superheroes of all time. What makes Batman so captivating is that, unlike most heroes, he doesn't have any superpowers. There's no flying, no super strength, no X-ray vision. He's just a man. As a result of these limitations, Batman uses fear as his greatest tool, using it to submit the many criminals of Gotham. But despite the darkness that surrounds his character, Batman holds tightly to a strict moral code. No matter how evil the criminal, he refuses to kill. It's his line in the sand that he will not cross. But what if things had gone differently? What if Batman didn't have the support system that helped him after his parents' deaths? What if, instead of channeling his pain into something good, he let it consume him? Would he still be the Batman we know? Or would he have become something else entirely? These are the questions that The Bat by Oblivion dares to explore. Before we start, I'd just like to thank you for watching, and also to direct you towards Oblivion's channel. This is by far the most fun I've had watching an analog horror series and analyzing it, coming up with my own theories, and I'd hate to rob you of that experience if you haven't seen it already. The full series is linked in the description, make sure to give it a watch, and if you enjoyed it as much as I did, make sure to support Oblivion and all of his other content. With that all said and done, let's get into The Bat by Oblivion. The series starts off with the first episode titled Jim Gordon Audio Log Live.mp4 1960 Corrupted, which immediately sets the stage with its date 1960 and the intriguing label Corrupted, which we'll get to what that means in a second. The video begins with Jim Gordon talking about the Bat Incident. Now, there's another video on Oblivion's channel titled The Bat Incident, but since it's not canonical to the series, we won't go into it here. Gordon mentions a rise in sightings of the Batman, as they're calling him now. He also references other caped figures doing more harm than good, like the Blue Boy Scout in Metropolis and the Fast Guy in Central City. Clear nods to Superman and the Flash. Gordon continues, noting that the Bat Incident occurred on the 21st anniversary of the Wayne murders. He reflects on Bruce Wayne's mental state before his disappearance, mentioning that Bruce struggled deeply with his parents' deaths, barely eating or drinking, and harboring dark, twisted ideas about restoring order to Gotham. Ted Kord, the CEO of Kord Industries, and who some of you might know as the Blue Beetle, shared these concerns with Gordon. But soon after, the Kord building on Founders Island, a part of Gotham, was burned to the ground with everyone inside presumed dead. It's almost as if Kord was being punished for revealing information he shouldn't have. The video then shows a picture of Bruce Wayne, supposedly taken before his disappearance. The image captures a familiar sadness and emptiness in him. Nothing out of the ordinary for the Bruce Wayne we've come to know, but it's the next picture that's truly haunting. The final recorded image of Bruce Wayne shows him curled up, seemingly in a cave, a stark contrast to the previous image. While there have been times in Batman's history where he has exhibited sadness and despair, seeing him curled up in a hole in what presumably is the Batcave gives off an extremely uncanny feeling. Gordon then discusses the various theories circulating about what happened after Bruce's disappearance. Some believe he's dead, but Gordon is convinced otherwise. He believes that Bruce Wayne is still alive and that he is the Batman.
Citizens of Gotham, vengeance is coming.
The next video in this series is titled GCPD Instructional Presentation 1, 1962, set 2 years after Jim Gordon's audio log. This video takes the form of a public service announcement, offering guidance on what to do if a loved one goes missing, a troubling sign that missing person cases might be on the rise in Gotham. The first step in the presentation is straightforward but chilling. Keep a close eye on your loved ones at all times, especially children, to ensure you don't lose them forever. The emphasis on children suggests they might be the primary victims of these mysterious disappearances. The language used in the video implies that once someone is gone, they're gone for good. The second step ramps up the tension even more, advising viewers to lock all your doors and windows, a precaution so extreme it suggests that whatever is causing these disappearances is so dangerous, it's safer to be trapped inside than to risk coming into contact with it. As I'm sure you're picking up by now, these steps do not really offer any guidance to those who have lost a loved one, rather how to avoid losing them altogether, furthering the notion that if someone goes missing, they will never be found again. The third and final step is do not let your loved ones make contact with the Bat. Just as we're processing this, the video glitches, leaving us with a muffled audio recording from what seems to be the Bat himself. This line stands in complete contrast to everything Batman traditionally stands for. His moral code, his refusal to kill, it all seems to have been abandoned. If it wasn't clear before that this isn't the Batman we know, it certainly is now. The third entry in the series, titled The Truth, begins with the line, "I'm not supposed to talk about this." Right away, the tension is set, and the anxiety of this mysterious speaker only deepens with the next line, "I have tried everything I can to get this out without getting caught." Then, the speaker reveals that the Batman is Wayne, or was. It seems that Batman has discarded his humanity so thoroughly that he's no longer careful enough to hide his identity. The speaker confirms this, saying, the Bruce side of him is gone, and only the Bat remains. The speaker continues, noting that despite Bruce's now frail and malnutritioned body, he still somehow retains his strength and agility, something almost impossible to believe. However, we go on to find out that Batman is likely using some kind of drug to maintain his strength and agility despite his weaker frame. This drug use just further emphasizes that this Batman has lost his way, lost the fundamental ideas and morality that makes Batman someone to look up to, that makes him who he traditionally is. Now, he has become nothing more than a shell, consumed by himself. The speaker then reveals that sightings of Batman have been on the rise over the past 2 years, with the most recent encounter reported by a little boy who saw Batman in an alley. This detail ties back to the earlier emphasis on children being the main victims of the disappearances. We're then shown a disturbing image taken by the boy. The photo has no visible details other than Batman's silhouette. This sight is usually something a typical criminal would see before Batman strikes. So why is Batman stalking the innocent? The speaker mentions the plummeting crime rates, but also points out that Arkham is practically empty, hinting at how Batman is choosing to deal with Gotham's criminals. Now, the speaker claims to have evidence that the Bat is indeed Bruce Wayne. They note that Bruce's disappearance coincides perfectly with the incident at Arkham, the Bat incident. They also reference a leaked audio recording, which could be pointing back to Jim Gordon's audio log from the first video in the series. Finally, the speaker introduces a new audio recording, which is included in the video. They urge anyone watching not to leak the tape to law enforcement, warning that it might find out, likely referring to Batman, who has become so inhuman that he is now seen as a thing rather than a person. Suddenly, the screen briefly flashes with the words, "You shouldn't have found this." The audio recording that plays is the following.
My name is Bruce Wayne. My father is Thomas Wayne. My mother is Martha Wayne. They were both murdered when I was a child. I am here to confess. If listening, my plan has worked. People of Gotham will submit. As I am Gotham's jury, judge, and executioner.
The next video in the series, titled Missing People's Broadcast, begins with an urgent emergency broadcast issued by the Gotham City Police Department. The GCPD warns the public that the number of missing person cases has spiked dramatically in key areas of Gotham City, including Old Gotham, Miagani Island, and Bleak Island. The police instruct residents of these areas to keep all doors and windows locked and, under no circumstances, let anyone leave their homes. The police then urge viewers to report any sightings of the Bat or any of the missing children immediately, as the faces of the missing children appear on screen. Those familiar with Batman and the Bat family will instantly recognize them from the comics. Richard Grayson, the first Robin and then later Nightwing, Barbara Gordon, who was Batgirl before becoming Oracle, Stephanie Brown, the fourth Robin, and Jason Todd, the second Robin, before becoming the Red Hood. These are all characters who are crucial to the Batman that we know. People he took under his wing, who shared in the same pain and loss that he experienced as a child. Batman, as we know him, protected them from the suffering that he endured, training them to be stronger, more resilient, and capable of overcoming anything. But this Batman isn't the one we know. It appears that instead of showing them a better path, this Batman has forced them into his dark crusade, and what that means is something we'll discover soon. The footage suddenly glitches, showing a bat symbol over Jason's face before the words "You are too late" flash across the screen, likely a message from Batman himself. We now see an image of what looks like 4 coffins in what is most likely the Batcave. It's also important to note that the number of coffins coincides with the 4 missing that we have seen from this video. The message, "They are family now," briefly flashes across the screen. The video closes with sirens blaring as the final image appears, the Wayne Manor engulfed in flames, the home of Bruce Wayne now reduced to ruin. The 5th video in the series, titled Names, picks up right where Missing People's broadcast left off. We're shown another image of Wayne Manor, with the narrator explaining that the manor mysteriously caught ablaze. If you've played Arkham Knight, you might recognize that this fire was likely caused by Batman himself. One of his contingency plans includes destroying Wayne Manor to fake his own death if his identity is ever revealed. However, in this series, Batman's identity hasn't been publicly exposed yet. Only a few individuals have privately speculated about Bruce Wayne's possible connection to Batman in audio logs. The speaker then mentions that all items inside the house were destroyed, except for some family photos and a clock. This clock is significant as it leads to a stairwell which descends into the Batcave. The speaker goes on to reveal that they snuck into the manor after the police had finished their investigation. Throughout this series, there's been a recurring theme of people who share information about Batman often stating they're not supposed to, or urging others not to inform the police. This raises the question as to whether the police are covering up Batman's activities. It's a dark twist on the traditional relationship between Batman and the GCPD, where they usually work together to combat Gotham's criminals. In this series, however, it might be that the police see Batman as a necessary evil, choosing not to interfere or even helping to cover his tracks. It's definitely something to consider moving forward. Inside the Batcave, the speaker discovers various items, including Batman's costume, a mysterious modified ear, and a huge list of files detailing Gotham's history and secrets. The list of files likely serves as a replacement for the Batcomputer, since this story is set in the early 60s, a time when the Batcomputer we're familiar with couldn't exist. However, the modified ear remains a mystery to me. I couldn't find any references to it in the 60s era Batman comics, so if anyone knows what the modified ear could signify, feel free to let me know in the comments. The speaker then finds a file among the others, containing a list of names, and, to the speaker's shock, their own name is among them. The list reads as follows: Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, Redacted, Barbara Gordon, Stephanie Brown, Kate Kane, Luke Fox, Helena Bertinelli, Jean-Paul Valley, Harper Rowe, Duke Thomas, and Selena Kyle. If you're a Batman fan, then you've immediately caught that these are all characters connected to Batman in the comics. This now raises some more unsettling questions. What is the reason for this Batman to be targeting them? And how did he know the speaker's name without them ever coming into contact? Is this a list of people that Batman has already kidnapped? Or is it a list of people that Batman plans to abduct? This list leaves us with more questions than answers, and just before the speaker can make sense of what's going on, they encounter them, the missing. Despite the 4 coffins shown in Missing People's broadcast, it seems that the missing are still alive, and their numbers have grown beyond just 4. In a panic, the speaker tries to escape, only to run into Batman himself. Strangely, neither Batman nor the missing pursue the speaker. They simply stare as the speaker makes their escape. The speaker then speculates about the possibility of the police covering up these events, particularly because Barbara Gordon, Jim Gordon's daughter, is among the missing. This ties back to what we discussed earlier, that the police might be aiding Batman, whether directly or indirectly. It also seems that the police are telling everyone that Batman is dead, leading to a rise in crime. Telling the public that Batman is dead without verifying the body or finding any evidence doesn't really make any sense, given that Batman is now known to be a kidnapper and a killer, evidenced by the empty halls of Arkham Asylum. A rise in crime would only result in increased murders. Could it go beyond just cooperation? Could Batman have some kind of influence over the police? Or are the police simply trying to calm the public by spreading the lie that Batman is dead? The speaker concludes by saying that they are leaving Gotham, having discovered their name on the list in the Batcave. The video ends with a missing poster for Timothy Drake, the 3rd Robin in the comics, and the redacted name on the list. It seems that Tim Drake was the speaker all along, and whatever fate awaited him in the Batcave, it seems that he has already met it. The final message of the video reads as follows: "Don't go into the cave under Wayne Manor, or I'll do to you what I did to the missing." The next episode in the series is titled Prisoner, And right from the start, we're told that Jason Todd is the speaker. We see another ominous photo of Batman as Jason says he'll expose why the Bat does what he does. Jason begins by recounting his early life, which mirrors his origin in the comics. His father abandoned him and his mother, who struggled with drug addiction, leaving Jason to fend for himself, resulting in him turning to crime, specifically stealing car parts to sell illegally. After his mother's death from a drug overdose, Jason continued his life of crime, eventually setting his sights on an odd-looking car that seems like it would fetch a high price. So far, this is the same origin we know from the comics, but here is where the similarities end. Just as Jason is unscrewing the car's wheels, he's knocked out, tied up, and placed inside the vehicle. This is another clear indication that this Batman is vastly different from the one we know. In the comics, Batman approaches Jason, offers him food, and eventually takes him in. But in this series, Batman's approach is far more twisted, opting instead to knock out the 15-year-old Jason and kidnap him. Jason recalls waking up in a cell in the Batcave, surrounded by the other missing. He forms a bond with Dick Grayson, who, as Jason tells us, was the first to turn. Whatever that may mean is not clear to us yet. We finally discover the source of Batman's strength, a modified version of Venom, the drug that gives Bane his superhuman strength. Jason remarks how odd it is that despite being the fourth person captured, he was the last to undergo the procedure. The person who went before him was none other than Catwoman, who Jason notes Batman had a thing for. However, it's unclear how the two met and why Batman didn't just kill Catwoman, given her criminal background. Catwoman put up a fight, but she was eventually taken away. Whether she underwent the procedure remains unknown. Then it's Jason's turn, which comes sooner due to one of the prisoners escaping. Surprisingly, Batman begins to open up to Jason, talking about Alfred and how close he was to him, especially after his parents' deaths. However, Alfred died shortly after Batman's parents, leaving him truly alone. This likely explains why this version of Batman is so twisted and demented. Alfred has always been Batman's anchor, especially during his childhood and early years as the Dark Knight. Without Alfred's guidance, Batman likely spiraled into madness, leading to the brutal and unhinged behavior we see now, such as killing criminals and kidnapping innocents. Batman then asks Jason about his family, to which Jason replies that he doesn't have one. Seeing a reflection of himself in Jason, Batman invites him to join his crusade to rid Gotham of criminals. This invitation is strange. Up until now, we've been led to believe that Batman drugs his captives with the modified venom to force them into compliance. But this direct invite suggests something different. What exactly is this procedure? And what did Batman mean when he said, "I'll do to you what I did to the missing" in the episode names? Before we get any answers, Jason calls Batman a lunatic, enraging him. In response, Batman releases the fear toxin, Scarecrow's signature gas, likely in an attempt to subdue Jason. Suddenly, Jason's restraints are removed, giving him a chance to escape. As he runs, something follows him and a rope shoots out, trying to pull him back, but Jason uses a batarang to cut himself loose and keeps running. As he runs, he catches a glimpse of Batman, who he now says didn't look like how he did before. Just as Jason escapes the cave, he hears rumbling and the Wayne Manor explodes behind him. This means that the events of Prisoner occur before Missing People's broadcast in the timeline. The bat symbol over Jason's face in Missing People's broadcast could be Batman's mark, indicating that he's hunting the one who got away. The police quickly arrive at the scene, questioning Jason and asking him to draw what he saw. The episode ends with a terrifying drawing of Batman, most likely distorted by the effects of the fear toxin, bringing Prisoner to an end. The next episode in the series is titled Will Hijack, and it takes place 1 year after the missing persons incident and the supposed death of Batman. The video begins with a vintage 1960s Coca-Cola ad, but just around the 59-second mark, the video glitches, and suddenly, the Court of Owls appear on screen. The final line before the video ends reads, "Send the talon for the bat's head." For those unfamiliar, the Court of Owls is a secret society made up of some of Gotham City's oldest and wealthiest families, who use murder and money to rule over Gotham from the shadows. The talons referenced at the end of Will Hijack are the court's assassins who carry out their bidding. It is worth noting that this is a TV hijack, as was implied in the title of the video, meaning that average everyday people who were watching TV at the time witnessed this hijack. This goes against the Court of Owls' fundamental principle of sticking to the shadows and ruling without being known. Could it be that the threat of Batman to them is so great that they need to make themselves known to all of Gotham? Or could this be something else entirely? The 8th episode in this series, titled Crime, opens with the speaker stating that crime has surged since the police reported the bat's death, making a mention of a criminal who stands out as the worst of them all, a figure whose kill count has exceeded 30 people within the past few years alone. This criminal is none other than the Joker, the one patient the bat left alive. If you recall from the first episode Jim Gordon audio log, Jim mentioned the bat incident. Although the Bat Incident video on Oblivion's channel isn't canonical to the series, it gives us a clue as to what might have happened. In the Bat Incident video, Batman breaks into Arkham Asylum and kills 3 patients in special containment, leaving only one alive, the Joker. While again, this video isn't a part of the canon, it helps us infer that whatever happened in 1959, Batman spared the Joker's life. We are then shown a disturbing image of the Joker, with the speaker attributing the rise in murders to him, with most of the Joker's victims being other criminals and the homeless. The speaker also suggests that the Joker may have been responsible for throwing a chemical, probably acid, at the mayor's face. The image of the Joker suddenly flashes, his grin widening, almost resembling the wings of the bat symbol. The phrase "he's always watching" appears, a likely reference to Batman. We then find out that the Joker has used many aliases over the years, and one of these was linked to the murder of the Waynes. This suggests that the Joker himself was the one who killed Bruce Wayne's parents, setting him on the dark path to becoming the Bat. As a twisted calling card, the Joker leaves smiles on the corpses of his victims, along with something related to the Bat. The speaker theorizes that Batman is stalking and tormenting the Joker because the Joker killed his parents. However, the Bat refuses to kill him, a detail that should raise eyebrows, given that this version of Batman has no qualms about killing. So why would he spare the man responsible for the greatest tragedy of his life? The speaker then turns to the police, criticizing them for doing nothing about the rise in crime, likely due to rampant corruption within their ranks. We are then shown an image of the mayor, the one attacked with acid by the Joker. Fans of Batman will instantly recognize this to be Two-Face. The speaker notes that the mayor went mad after the attack, hinting that Two-Face might play a role in the series moving forward. The speaker attributes all the current chaos in Gotham to the announcement of the Bat's death. It could be possible that maybe it was Batman who intentionally wanted people to believe that he was dead by setting the manor ablaze, maybe even forcing the police to broadcast his death, all in order to bring out Gotham's criminals and villains and to kill them all in one go. It's definitely something to consider. We also learn that the Owl hijack was nothing more than a mockery of the Bat's death. The Court of Owls seems to not exist in this series as it does in the comics. It's just an old urban legend. The disappearance of children has also stopped, replaced by weird crazies on the streets, as we see a brief glimpse of the Riddler's graffiti. The speaker's identity is finally revealed to be Jim Gordon, who states that he stepped down as the captain of the police after the death of his daughter, Barbara Gordon. While Barbara was one of the missing, it's only now that we hear of her death, raising the grim possibility that Batman himself might have killed her. Jim says that he's gathered enough cash to leave Gotham, and he leaves its people with a dire warning: pray to your God, because only he can save you now, and reveals that the Bat is not dead. He is in fact watching you right now. As the video comes to a close, the text, "Not the Bat," flashes on the screen, followed by the sound of hard knocking and the Joker's manic laughter. We've now reached the final episode of the series titled Sinners and Butchers. The speaker begins with a desperate tone, admitting that he doesn't know who will see this tape or what to do. There is no escaping, it seems, as he reveals that he is being hunted by someone. The speaker contemplates fleeing back to Switzerland before saying the Order would try and turn me into their Azrael. This confirms that the speaker is Jean-Paul Valley, whose name we saw on the list in the Batcave in the episode titled Names. In the DC universe, the Order of Saint Dumas is a secretive and fanatical offshoot of the Knights Templar. Azrael is a mantle passed down through generations, bestowed upon individuals who have been brainwashed by the Order into becoming assassins. Jean-Paul Valley is the most notable Azrael in the comics and is the one who eventually took up the mantle of Batman. Jean-Paul explains that while he still uses the alias of Azrael, he no longer follows the Order, and he also makes mention of the continuous rise of crime in Gotham, despite most people refusing to believe that Batman is truly dead. We are then shown the gruesome remains of the Pig Butcher, better known as Professor Pig, arranged to resemble a old, gruesome Nordic ritual called the Blood Eagle. Jean-Paul attributes this horrific scene to the Batman himself. Jean-Paul notes that since his breakout, he hasn't seen Batman, but he has encountered the missing. He also adds that everyone he has spoken to has seen Batman one way or another, with more and more witnesses capturing pictures of him. Batman's presence is becoming increasingly known, even being featured on a TV show. We then see images of two of the missing, Duke Thomas, known as the Signal in the comics, and Helena Bertinelli, the Huntress. Both have been killed with a cane by one of Gotham's infamous criminals. Despite the fact that many of Batman's rogues gallery are known to carry canes, the one that comes to my mind is the Penguin. However, it could also be the Joker himself. Jean-Paul also reveals that the Bertinelli crime family is hunting down the person responsible for Helena's death, before revealing that he's being stalked, not by Batman, but by Dick Grayson. In a photo Jean-Paul took of Dick, we see that he is still wearing his Robin uniform rather than his Nightwing outfit. This suggests that Batman is keeping the missing on a tight leash, preventing them from branching out on their own, hence why Dick remains Robin instead of becoming Nightwing. Jean-Paul mentions that this isn't the first time he's seen Dick, and he confesses that Dick was responsible for the deaths of the Mad Hatter and Victor Zsasz. He also remarks that Batman and his Robins are doing more harm than good, implying that there is more than one Robin under Batman's control. This solidifies the idea that Batman is keeping the missing under his command rather than setting them loose on their own in Gotham. Jean-Paul acknowledges that the killings carried out by Batman and his Robins have crossed the line, which, coming from Azrael, says a lot. He then reveals that Dick broke into his home and attacked him, leading Jean-Paul to lament about what he had to do. Jean-Paul shows us what became of Dick. Dick's death is officially blamed on the Joker, but Jean-Paul confesses that he was the one who did it, saying he did it in the name of God. This line suggests that Jean-Paul might not be completely free from the Order's brainwashing despite his claims. After killing Dick, Jean-Paul fully embraces his role as Azrael, taking it upon himself to kill criminals like Firefly and Killer Moth. He then makes a vow to kill Batman himself, and two lines in Latin appear on the screen: Nullius imperium facio nisi Dei and Mammon cadet cum cetrius peccatoribus. As I'm sure you can tell, Latin is not my first language. The first line, as clarified by Oblivion in the comics, was a mistranslation and was actually meant to say, "I do no one's bidding but God's." The second line translates to, "Mammon will fall with other sinners." "I do no one's bidding but God's" is a phrase we've heard from Azrael before.
I do no one's bidding but God's.
The reference to Mammon, which is defined as wealth regarded as an evil influence or false object of worship and devotion, seems to be directed at Batman himself. While it's obvious the connection between Mammon and Batman is that Batman, as Bruce Wayne, is wealthy, I believe that the reference likely goes deeper. Batman's obsession with ridding Gotham of criminals by any means necessary has led him down a path that is the complete opposite of who we know him to be. From the beginning of the series, Batman's desire for justice has become a form of greed, an insatiable need to oppose his will on Gotham, to be its jury, judge, and executioner, as he declared in the episode The Truth. He has become a figure that he wants Gotham to worship, This insatiable drive may have turned Batman into the very thing he sought to destroy. As the Latin text fades from the screen, the video abruptly cuts, ending the final episode of The Bat as of the time I'm making this video. I absolutely loved this series. Despite being Oblivion's first analog horror series, it was very well made and morbidly horrifying from start to finish. I especially enjoyed how Oblivion incorporated other characters from the Batman universe into the series. I've been a fan of Batman ever since I could remember, and have always wondered what an evil Batman might look like, and I'm happy to say that this series does not disappoint. Again, make sure to check out Oblivion's channel. There's a bunch of other analog horror series that he's working on related to other superheroes, so make sure to go check him out and show him some support. I've linked his channel in the description of this video. And thank you for watching. Let me know what you think of the series in the comments. If you have any theories or think I might have missed something, then be sure to let me know. Thank you for stopping by. Make sure to check out some of my other videos, and I'll see you next time.